Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I think this question would best be discussed in person. Most of the revealing conversations in Upanishads seem to be between gods and immortals such as Lord Brahma and Ashvalayana, Prajapati and Indra or Virochana, Sanat Kumar and Narada, Yamaraja and Nachiketa. These gods or immortals seem to have different sets of faculties and powers. Can they be applied to mortal beings like us, like me, like us, being on this earth? We have a lot of limitations if it appears that nothing in our hands, neither happiness nor sorrow. Now, in fact, Upanishad makes it a point, even when Yamaraja instructs Nachiketa, and the Upanishad describes that Nachiketa gained the knowledge, then also they make it a point that anyone else also. Meaning that knowledge that Narada gained or Nachiketa gained, regardless of how they were, the text makes it a point to say that this knowledge can be gained by anyone else also. What has to be done is that we cannot become like God as far as the Upadhi is concerned. We can become like Narada as far as our mind or our traits or attributes or the virtues are concerned. So it is not important whether the student is a divine being or a mortal being, because even divine beings also may not be qualified if they do not have the right qualifications. And so, for example, Virochana could not get the knowledge. Indra also had to approach Prajapati several times. So it is not whether a person is God or has some superhuman powers which qualify them for Brahma Vidya. It is the adhikaritvam, the fitness as viveka, vairagya. So this is what qualifies an individual for the knowledge of the self. And whoever has that qualification. So this is a good thing. Beginning from Tattvabodha and other texts of Vedanta, we find that the qualification is the Samadhi Shadka Sampatti, Shantaha, Dantaha, Uparataha, Tatikshu, Shraddha Vitto Bhutva. Or, as Tattvabodha says, so Viveka Vairagya Sadhana Chatushta Sampatti. So the requirement that Vedanta has or Upanishads have as the qualification for the Jignasu is this sadhana chatushta sampatti. And to whatever extent we have that, which everybody has in one measure or the other. Because Viveka, Vairagya, all of these are inherently there in us. Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dama, even Mumukshutvam, all of this is inherently there in us. And therefore, any human being can cultivate these qualifications. And therefore, a human being is qualified for this knowledge. What is required is these qualifications have to be cultivated. And therefore, Upanishads make it a point that anyone else also who possesses this qualification is fit for this Upadesha. And so, we need not feel intimidated that we are mere mortal human beings. How can we ever gain this knowledge? But no, many mortal human beings have gained this knowledge. And so we can also. And therefore, even though Upanishads may report this dialogue between superhuman beings, but still, it is all applicable to human being. This whole Upadesha is given for human being. And so even though Lord Krishna is Bhagavan, Arjuna is a human being. And Arjuna represents us basically, because he also is grieving. He was a Shoka and Moha. So that is where we can draw some comfort. Even though Shoka and Moha are there, still Arjuna could receive this knowledge. And therefore, we did not feel intimidated, did not feel nervous that where are we, where is Sage Narada and where are we? Yes, we are nowhere where Sage Narada is in terms of his knowledge, or in terms of qualification we can be. He is Jignasa. So this, his knowledge, more than that, his humility is what enabled him to see his own problem. Otherwise, more often than not, this kind of learning that Sage Narada had would make a person quite arrogant, proud. And a proud person, it may be difficult for a proud person to see his or her own limitations. So, says Narada was humble. And humility enables a person to recognize and own up one's own limitations and needs. And that's what enables says Narada to approach Sanat Kumara. And so we should focus upon equipping ourselves with this qualification. That's what we said yesterday also. Antahakana Shuddhi is a qualification. So while we are doing Shravanam Mananam, which we should do, we should simultaneously do what is necessary also to remove the ragadveshas from our mind, for which the means is karma yoga, bhakti, worship of Lord. So do that. Otherwise we find an excuse, who am I? I am a human being, I can't get this. So I won't do anything. So being a human being should not become an excuse for dropping out or justifying, no, I can't do it. Because everybody can gain purification of mind. Everybody can gain or certainly strive to become free from the ragadveshas. So that is what qualification is. Fortunately, Vedanta doesn't specify it should be a man or a woman also. Although they may use masculine gender, Shanta, Danta. And one may be tempted to think that only man can do this. Shantaha, Dantaha, Uparataha, Titikshuhu, Shraddhavitta Bhutva. It's only masculine gender. But that's just an example. It should apply to any human being. At least in 21st century. We discussed that drashta and drishya both are unreal. And only drishti is real. That's a very good observation and conclusion. Oh, having said that, does it mean the actions are real? If drashta is unreal, it also means karta is unreal. Drashta includes all agents. Drashta is the agent of the act of darshanam. So that includes any karta. If drashta is unreal, then karta also is unreal. Drashya is unreal, then karma also is unreal. Then action also is unreal. So seeing, hearing, tasting, etc. is real, cannot be. If action is real, then there is one real, that is action, another real, that is Brahman or Bhuma. Too many real things. For Bhuma to be Bhuma, meaning abundant, anant, infinite, nothing else should have the same status. Otherwise, Bhuma will be one of the things. So everything other than Bhuma is unreal. That includes karta, karma, karanam. So now question is, seeing, hearing, tasting without duality, is it real? Seeing, tasting, hearing without duality is drishti. Because if seeing is real seeing, involves seeing through the organ of seeing, then there will be the object of seeing, then there will be duality. So in the parenthesis says, without duality, seeing, hearing, tasting real. Without duality, seeing is what? Drishti. Tasting also is drishti. Hearing also is drishti. You can call it shruti. Seeing drishti. Hearing shruti. So drishti, shruti, mati, which is the same as consciousness. Nahi drishtuhu drishtihe viprilopo vidyate avinashitvat. Nahi shrutuhu shrutehe viprilopo. So Upanishad Brihadaranya says one after the other. The drishti, which is translated as seeing, but which amounts to consciousness. So who really sees? When seeing takes place, do eyes see? Eyes have a role to play in seeing, but are the merely eyes are able to see themselves? Or do the eyes gain the capacity to see for something else? So Kenopanishad, Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manasaha Manaha, Vachoho Vacham, Chakshusha Chakshuhu. What it means is that Chakshu or the eyes have the capacity to see not independently, but because of someone else, namely Atma or consciousness. Meaning that organ of hearing hears because of consciousness, organ of seeing sees because of consciousness. So real seer is only consciousness. Real hearer. Because organ of hearing cannot function, perform the act of hearing unless it is blessed by consciousness. Is consciousness that hearing through the organ of hearing, consciousness is seeing through the organ of seeing. So whether you call it drishti, shruti, mati, is all amounts to consciousness. In that case, hearing, seeing, tasting, all of these reduces to consciousness. That is real. Does it clarify your question? Okay. Could you please clarify yatra na pashyati part? Is this the second interpretation? Where these two possible interpretations of which we were shown in detail, yatra na anyat pashyati, or is yatra na pashyati is meant to indicate act of seeing is at the level of upadhi. Yatra na anyat pashyati, where one does not see the other. So seeing is not denied. Anyat, the other, is denied. Now when normally seeing takes place, there is always the other who is the object of seeing. That is the seer. So anyat na pashyati. He sees all right. In that seeing the anyat, the other one is not there. Then only seeing is there. So this anyat is, the anyat is denial of the second one, because all there is just one. That is bhuma, in which the duality of the seer seen is not there. But if you say that consciousness is seeing, that seeing is there, but not the seeing that involves the duality of the seer seen. Not that there is totally blank, meaning that there is total void, consciousness is there. So you can say that seeing is there, but seeing involving duality of seer seen is not there. So what is denied is the duality rather than denying seeing. Although a question arose, he does not see the other. I think we didn't discuss that. Anyatna pashyati does not see the other. Does it mean that he sees himself? So does he not see at all? Or does he not see the other? Or he sees all right, does not see other. That means he sees himself. So that also Atma cannot see itself himself because Atma will become seer and seen simultaneously, which duality cannot be. Atma cannot see the other because the other is not there, all it is itself. And therefore, this statement is made to deny all the duality. That seeing is there, consciousness is there, but there is no duality of the seer seen. Yatra, where? So when you say when one does not see anything other than oneself, so one may think that not seeing something other than oneself, when or where, then elsewhere there is seeing of something other than oneself. Where one does not see. That means here one sees. So here we see the seer is different, seen is different, seeing is different. And there is a state where this seer, seen are not different. But this is not accepted. It is not that the seer, seen duality is not there in some state. Even when we think that this seer, seen duality is there, it is not there. Even when I think that I am seeing you, who are separate from me, I am the seer, and the act of seeing is taking place, that's what I think. When I think that, that also is not there. There is no seer, no seen, no act of seeing. What is this drishti? Upon which these three are superimposed, meaning that they are not, I see, but they are not there. What I am seeing is something that is not there. So you can call it imagination, projection, kalpana, like dream. Where the duality is not there and one thinks it is there, so the waking also. I think there is duality of seer, seen, seeing, which is not real. So not only that in some state, at any time there is no duality. Meaning that I should not look upon you as separate from me. I should not look upon myself as separate from you. Then I should see myself in you. I should see the self in you. Can there be a more noble perception than this? Because I am the most important to me, I am the most lovable to me, I am the object of love to myself. If I see myself in you, meaning that I love you as much as I do myself. No, isn't it so? So that's how for a wise person it will be. Everything is a manifestation of self. That's all there is. That's what Upanishad says. Not that when you are not doing vyavahara that there is non-duality. What is non-duality, whether vyavahara is there or not there? What is the self? For that, my perception of self should undergo a transformation. As long as I look upon myself as this so and so, then if I see, then that's a different problem. But when I recognize the true nature of myself, who I am, then I see that that's what you call I, what anybody calls I. And then there is no bheda, no duality, no division, no separation, no exclusion. no samsara, no sorrow. Which means what is there is ananda. Yogi bhuma tat sukham. It is there. What is this sukham only? Not that bhuma has to happen. What is this bhuma? Therefore, what is this sukham? Upanishad says, see this fact. Yatra nanyat pashyati, when one does not see, when you think that you are seeing something different, also that is not different, what is this bhuma? It's just a play going on. Bhuma seeing himself, interacting with himself. That sounds strange. You are interacting with yourself? Can be. Take multiple roles, double role, triple role. Are there any movies these days? Because I have not seen movie for many years, but many years I remember was a double role. Devanand was playing double role. He was a hero also and he was a villain also. In the fight we see there. Fighting with himself. That's called play, isn't it? So Mahish people say that's what it is. We take this play too seriously, but then what it is that. Because the question is, how can, if Bhuma, Brahman, is the self of myself, how come it doesn't stop you from cheating? How come it doesn't stop a thief from doing what he's doing? What is the use of Bhagavan being here when it doesn't stop me doing wrong thing? Doesn't stop this fellow fighting the battle and stuff like that. What's the use of that Bhagavan? Is that Bhagavan? How come Bhagavan doesn't stop the thief from performing an act of stealing? How come Bhagavan does not stop the murderer from the act of killing? How come? What sort of Bhagavan is that? What sort of Bhagavan is that? You accept that Bhagavan? When you are watching a movie, and then when the hero and when that fight, when for is knocked out, do you call police? In the movie, then there is fire, do you call the fire engine? No, why? Why not? It is appearance of fire. Mithya fire. So just as when there is fire in the movie, you do not, what sort of fellow you are that you are not calling fire engine? What sort of person you are when murder is taking place and you don't call the police officer? What sort of fellow you are? Can somebody say that? So Bhagavan is like that. In the eyes of Bhagavan is all drama going on, all mithya. And still the murderer is, killer is killing. But in non-duality, who is killer? Who is Atma of killer? Who is Atma of killer? Bhagavan. Who is Atma of killed? So who is killing whom? Bhagavan is killing Bhagavan, is it not so? When I am sometimes sitting, I do that, Swami, if I do it to you, wait a minute, Swami, you don't do that. But if I do that to myself, no object, because this is called play. When I do something to myself, it's called play. So Bhagavan is all performing play. We get confused because we give. The children, they get confused when they see a lion roaring and he is scared. Gives reality to what is seen on the screen. That's how it is. But Don't stretch this too much because otherwise Vedantins have no concern about anything. You have to really grow into that, then only. Otherwise, you start where I am and then I start all mithya, doesn't matter. So this fellow will listen to this and then here in Rishikesh and then. We have always warned people that when you go to Ganga, take a dip, take 3 dips and get out. Don't stay there long because it's freezing water. All joints will be affected. This person says, I am Brahman. He won't come out. They called Guruji. What happened? Guruji came with the danda. Hey, why are you hitting me? I'm hitting Brahman, not you. So then Brahman becomes, is what you call just a word, lip service, isn't it? So it's not repeating words, but it is saying what is. So that is what is intended to be taught in this yatra nanyat pashyati nanyat shrunoti. In business and psychology, the word being introvert is not recommended. In business and psychology, to be introvert is not recommended. It is a sign of withdrawal and judged as failure. But Vedanta teaches that to look within for permanent or eternal happiness. We still think that we must give something to get something different. See, you already clarified this introvert and extrovert in the class. Extrovert is not that you don't look outside. Extrovertedness is a conclusion that what I want is out there. So when I look there, I look with an expectation, with desire, with craving. Looking towards oneself doesn't mean that you don't do vyavahara. So doing vyavahara is not extrovertedness. And not doing vyavahara is not introvertedness also. Introvertedness is, in psychology, is not communicating, not interacting with the world because either you are too scared. There is a complex which prevents you from interacting with the world. There may be fear, there may be inferiority, etc., etc. That is what prevents me from interacting with the world. That introvertedness is not just introvertedness, means this complex in the mind is introvertedness. And that's what in business or psychology. It's not that in business also, if you are a thinking person and a contemplative person or a quiet person, you won't be considered a failure. Because for making business decisions also, you have to be a thinking person. And so, extrovert doesn't mean he goes out and does party and all keeps on talking and chatting, that is extrovert. That can be stupid also. Or either way. It's not a given behavior that is called extroverted or introverted. It is what is behind that behavior. So, extroverted means a very social person, a very mixing person, this, that, and so forth. That's what is called extrovert. But Vedanta would call extrovert as a person who is chasing things out there. That is no good in psychology or business or anything. Chasing, no. Pursuing something, all right. Introverted means that you are just depressed, or you are too scared, and therefore you are not, you are by yourself. So that introvertedness is the problem. But looking at oneself is not introvertedness. Looking at oneself is thinking, contemplating, meditating. So in meditation also person is quiet. That is not introvertedness. It is inwardness, looking inwardly. Introvert is a technical word as compared to extrovert. It is no good either. Word business is no good. Extrovert doesn't know how to keep quiet, and introvert doesn't know how to talk. But you know how to talk and interact, and still you choose. Not always that, because you have other things to do also, other than just mixing with the world and spending time, which you may do if you are a marketing person, if you are a salesman, and if your profession requires to do that, then to be able to do also is required. But just doing that, because there's nothing else to do, that's not prescribed anywhere. Do what is the right thing to do. So, looking inwardly, thinking, contemplating is not introvertedness, as the word introvert is used by psychology. This is being inward looking, being with oneself, which requires a lot of preparation. I can be with oneself when I am comfortable with myself, when I discover comfort with myself. So that's a great accomplishment, to be with the self. Swamiji, how is Bhuma interpreted as Astivadi Priyam? We started discussing Saha as Bhuma, but in proving so, we took the aid of Astivadi Priya. Could you please explain this further? Let's see tomorrow, that won't have any class. No, we say that Bhuma is everything. So, Saeva Sarvam, Sadhastad, Purastad, so everywhere is there, Uttarataha, Dakshinataha, etc. Saeva Sarvam. Bhuma is all. Now, how can Sa or Bhuma be Sarvan? Only when Bhuma is the material cause. In what sense is Bhuma material cause? As Asti Bhati Priyam. And Asti Bhati Priyam is what you experience, but not as something out there. You experience. The point is that when you experience the effect, you also experience the material cause. When you experience the pot, you also experience the clay. So if Bhuma is the material cause, then when I experience the world, should I not be experiencing Bhuma, which is the material cause? That's why I said Asti Bhati Priyam. How do you experience Asti Bhati Priyam? As my own self. So that way Bhuma can be the material cause in this manner. And that's how Bhuma is Sarvam. That Bhuma is everything. Perhaps we may throw some more light tomorrow morning. Everything experienced is finite and not the truth. What then is significance of Parokshanubhuti? Depends on what you mean by experienced. Everything experienced is finite. Everything experienced as an object of experience is finite. Experience itself is not finite. Whatever experienced is because it is illumined by consciousness. So consciousness can be called experience, anubhuti. Anubhuti swarupa. Aparokshanubhuti because the aparoksham is my own self. The anubhuti or consciousness is my own self. We don't call it experience because it does not involve the duality of experiencer and experienced. You can still call it experience because there is an awareness. Therefore, self-knowledge also can be called in a secondary sense an experience, but to distinguish from other experiences, you add an adjective aparoksha. Experiencing as my own self. Other things are experienced as other than myself. And so what is experienced as object is not true. But that because of which it's all experience is truth. That is consciousness, that is self. Who are we? Are we spiritual being in human manifestation or human being with spirit? Human being with spirit? Are you spirit in human form or human being having a spirit? You heard famous statement by Swami Vivekananda. I'm not body with a consciousness, I'm consciousness with a body. That's how he used to say it. So I am Chaitanya having a body. Why a body? So Chaitanya can carry out the vyavahara. What I am is Chaitanya. Body is the means of interacting, communicating. True nature is Chaitanya. So one question I did not answer, which we discuss in person. Okay. I thought today was Thursday. Today is Wednesday. तो बुधवार को दिवस को